Ladies and gentlemen, today is October 28th, 2014, and this is the KNKL Show, episode 199, where we learn to be better artists, and today we are going to be doing a tutorial on sculpting abs, figuring out the abs puzzle, as I like to call it, because for too long, I have been dumbfounded by drawing abs, and I've been doing it a lot with the recent concept art that I've been working on for Riot. But before we get into the joint study session, we do have some artwork, some lovely artwork that we need to look at from everybody who has been submitting to the Facebook. So I wanted to say thank you to everyone who has been submitting, as usual. Freaking awesome art. Like, you guys are improving so much. Like, especially the people that post like on and off again, like multiple pieces. It's really nice to see you guys grasping the fundamentals and kind of experimenting, finding your styles, and improving. So continue doing so. If you have not joined us, please click the link down in the bottom left or just type in that URL. Also, the link is in the YouTube description. Come on over to the Facebook, post your art, and get liked by the people, and get cookies. We will have a good time. All right, we have a lot of stuff. This is a lot of stuff. Sorry, we're going to have to speed it up just a little bit. But if you want to go see everybody's awesome art, just, again, click that link. And as usual, thank you guys so much for submitting. It really does mean a lot. Really does. I really liked this one. Really good job on this one. Friggin' awesome style. Not that I like to play favorites, right? I'm not playing favorites here. We're just, yeah, just calling it like it is. Calling it like it is. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get right into it. Because I don't like tangents. That's why I never ever go into them. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our good old abs, our abs puzzle. So for too long, like I've said, this has bewildered and confused me. And today I'm going to show you guys a couple simple tricks that you can use to get your abs looking right, okay? So first of all, you're gonna notice that we've got our good old reference here. You can feel free to print screen both this one, and I've set it up so that way we can take off the skin and see the musculature beneath. I know this might be a little scary, but it is close to Halloween, so you're probably walking around, you know, they got this stuff like hanging, you know, in the usual grocery store, you know, skin flesh, beheaded dudes hanging from chains. So yeah, this is very fitting for our spooky time of the year. Okay, so we've got our good old abs here, and we're gonna go ahead and put the skin back on. So let me start off by showing you guys something that I used to do. Something that I used to do that was not really the correct way to draw abs, okay? So I'm gonna start with just like a torso, okay? So here are the pec muscles right here. And then we got the guy's head right here, okay? Then I would draw down, and then I was like, all right, time for some abs. And then I would do this. And this is not how you draw abs, because like you can see to the right, or rather to the left, the shape is not a box. It's not a box that's like slapped onto your chest, right? It's not slapped onto your stomach region. But rather, what's really cool that's happening here that I've noticed is that there's this shape. It like comes up and then it starts to go diagonally in to your chest muscles, and it meets right here. And that is freaking awesome, because we're gonna be talking about a really cool way to remember how to draw your abs, okay? So first of all, oh, it's almost like a Christmas tree. It's almost like a Christmas tree. I'm going to call it the Christmas tree technique, okay? And the star, look at that. We even got the star right up here. Boom, baby. All right, cool. I'm never gonna forget it now. Okay, so let's go right on back to our drawing over here. And let's go ahead and improve upon this, improve upon our abs with our Christmas tree technique, okay? So now that we know we're not working with a box, we're working with a Christmas tree, let's go ahead and do that, okay? Another thing that I really like to do when I'm sketching in the guy's body is I like to do this thing, where it's like, think of it almost like a Barbie doll. You ever see like the Ken dolls? How it's almost like the torso is just set on top of the legs. Well, what's actually very interesting is you see right over here, with what's happening on the figure, you can see it's almost taking that shape. See how the obliques basically sit right on top of the legs, and the legs just like branch right out of it. Very interesting. So I always like to consider that, and I usually draw my guys' torsos like that. All right. But again, we're getting distracted. We're getting distracted. Let's focus on the task at hand. I'm going to darken this down a little bit. I'm not going to work with my usual dark colors, so that way you guys don't know. You can't see. You got to like squint or like do that thing where you look down at the monitor so it makes everything darker. You're not going to have to do that today because we have the Christmas tree. And why am I not drawing anything? What the heck is going on? Okay, so what's really cool about the Christmas tree technique is that it comes right up, and then it gives you this shape right here. This is your oblique muscle. And then you're going to come right up into this, and you go up like that. Boom. Okay, same thing over here. Christmas tree technique. In like that. Okay? Now what's really cool about this is that both of these shapes, right? Both of the shapes that are offshooting, basically like the branches of the Christmas tree, are also going to come in very handy here in about 2 seconds. Because we're going to be talking about another one of the most confusing things about the chest region, and that is the serratus anterior, which is basically all these little muscles right over here that like to zigzag, right? There's like muscles going like this and muscles going like that and then going down like that and then up like that, you know, and it's really confusing. But what's really nice about this Christmas tree technique that we have just discovered is that it's going to help us place those. It's going to help us place those, okay? So let's go ahead and get back to our drawing over here. What layer are we on? There we go. Okay, so check this out. Guys, check it out. So we're going to go ahead and separate our abs first, okay? We're going to separate our abs. And what's really cool about this drawing over here that I like is that it creates this little diamond shape. Can you see that little diamond shape that's between those abs? Again, not every guy has this, but it's kind of cool to think about the separation of the muscles. And if you can capture that subtlety when you draw your guy's muscles, it's going to look really cool. It's going to look really, really cool. And it just helps to remember where, you know, where stuff is happening. So we're going to do that. Okay? So we've got this stuff going on, right? Now we can see a little bit of what's happening over here with the serratus anterior. It's going to start branching off. And basically the serratus anterior is connected to your rib cage. Your rib cage, okay? So if we put this right back on here, the Christmas tree, you'll see that right where this edge happens, or pretty close to where that second branch kind of sticks out, that's where your rib cage muscles are going to stop moving or start moving up towards your back, okay? So that's basically these muscles right here. See that? Boom. They're going to start going up right on that rib cage. And once they get high enough, right, pay attention to where these muscles start intersecting. It's almost kind of like halfway between your pec going up to your shoulder. It's a good thing to remember, okay? So halfway up the pec going to the shoulder is right about here. So you're going to start seeing this happen. You're going to start seeing that interlacing, interlocking of the chest muscles and the serratus anterior. And then over that is going to overlap the latissimus dorsi, or the lats, right? Those are your pull-up muscles. Make your back look all huge. You've seen like bodybuilders, like their lats are literally like the size of my head. Like they stick out so far. I don't know how they do it, but needless to say, I am jealous. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply what we've learned here. So we know at the second part, I'm gonna change this color because I want a different color. I want a better color. There we go. So we know at the second branch, this is where our rib cage is gonna start. And we're gonna start building our muscles upwards, okay? Now, I usually like to separate it into about 3. Yeah, I would do about 3. So see how we did 1, 2, 3? You're gonna go 1, 2, 3 like that, okay? Now, right at the halfway point between the chest muscle and the shoulder, that's where our second set of muscles is gonna start coming in. So we're gonna get that, okay? Very good, very good. And then overlapping that is going to be your lats. Your lat muscle is going to come in right there. All right. Cool. Now let's do the same thing over here. We go 1, 2, 3. And we're not going to see the latissimus dorsi on that side because, again, we're wrapping it around the figure. Okay? Very good. Now this is all well and good, and I know what you're probably thinking right now. Like, Keenan, this is great, but how do I make it look like there's flesh on top of the muscle? And this is something that is very, very important to do. And I'm going to show you, don't worry. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to soften your muscle lines while still making them appear there. Your muscles will still appear there and appear strong, but rather than looking like this guy was skinned alive, he'll actually look muscly. I'm just putting a little bit more detail into some areas over here just to make him look a little more awesome. All right. Cool. All right, and we're going to be using our good friend over here as a reference. Using our good friend Skin Man over here as a reference because he is going to show us the way. He's going to show us the way more than anything how to properly render the abs. See how you can see all those muscles underneath? But it's not just totally torn away like this. Like you're not seeing the muscles and like every single little lat in there or serratus muscle. We're going to be using him as a good example. Example 1. So let's go ahead and get into that. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this layer just in case we mess up. I mean, I never mess up, so I don't know why I would do something like that. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to want to do, first thing that you're going to notice is, I mean, depending on if you're sketching, I usually like to think of my light source always just coming from the front. You know, we're doing like the basic photo shoot setup where front light, you know, a little bit of backlight, rim light, all that stuff. But for the most part, I always light my characters from the front. So it's very easy to consider that everything that's going to start turning towards the background is going to start to receive a little bit of shadow, okay? So for instance, see how this part of the ab takes up the light, and then as it turns, it takes up shadow, okay? So you're going to do something like this, okay? Very good. Okay, now as we get up into here, into these areas, what I want you to do is I basically just want you to erase. This is a lot like the line sculpting technique that I've taught you guys many, many times. If you haven't seen it, you can go look up a video of how I like to do it. A lot of the tutorials I've been doing lately have been focusing on line sculpting, so it won't be too hard for you to learn it anyway. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to consider this. Again, this rib cage is rounding slightly before it's going to start hitting these abs, okay? So you're going to have something like this. And we're going to soften these lines. Again, we're going to almost kind of start just erasing them. Keep them there very, very subtly. Like that. And then kind of do yourselves one of these things. So basically, the lines still exist there. It's just they're very much, what's the word? Played down. They're very played down. But you still want to make sure that they are there. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. And mostly you're thinking about edges. Like there's a little edge there, little edge there, little edge there. You see what I just did there? So now you can see that the muscles are there, but the skin has now been stretched over top of them. And you can even, like it's really easy when you're working with a sculpting technique because you can just go in and you can kind of erase the lines to make them look a little bit better. Like if you want it to look a little bit more like more skin, you just kind of soften those lines, going back in and erasing them. Going back in and erasing. Hope this is making sense. I mean, I'm sure it is because I'm just an amazing teacher. But you can see very slowly we are starting to take form. See, now it looks a lot more, less like this, more like that, okay? Love that good old serratus anterior happening right there. That looks really nice. Looks really nice. And let's go ahead and soften that there. Get that good old oblique. We love the oblique. We love it. And let's go ahead and soften a couple of these things here. Actually like that. That looks good. And this is really something that I just recently noticed. More than anything. I was like, oh my gosh, I never realized that the abs had more of this shape going on. I never realized that before. It's like the tiny little Christmas tree top, and then it comes down, and then it goes back diagonal. It's really, really cool. And because I would always look at all these superhero books, right? How to draw a superhero anatomy. And they always did this thing with the rib cage that always looked really weird. In fact, let me demonstrate it. There's still some things that I'm not quite sure if I agree with on it, but they would do this thing where they would super simplify it. And they would basically do this. They would be like, okay, so the chest muscles go like this, and then you have like this big thing right here that's like the rib cage, right? But I was like, what muscle is that? You know? And then they'd be like, and then the abs go here, right? And then they'd separate them into 6. And I was like, that doesn't look right. That really doesn't look right, because I don't know, it looked too simple and it looked weird. So I just didn't like it. So I wanted to figure out exactly what was happening with those abs. And I feel like this has been the closest I've ever been able to get to it. And I'm hoping that with just this simple remembrance of the shapes, it'll help you out. Simple remembrance of shapes. Okay, so let's go ahead and review once more, because I want to make sure that you guys are getting this. I want to break down the shapes that we've learned today. And I'm going to go ahead and use a different color. We're going to use green. Perfect. Perfect. And what a fitting color it is, because our first shape we're going to learn about, or recall, is the Christmas tree. Okay? So, what have we learned today? What have we learned indeed? So we're going to always draw our Christmas tree right up like that. Boom, like that. That star is right on the chest. Hey, how about that? Then at that second branch, that's where your ribs begin to go upwards, okay? And I like to separate it into 3. So 1, 2, 3. There might be more, there might be less, but from what I can see, it's like 1, 2, 3, okay? And then once you get up to the midpoint between the pec and the shoulder, right? Here's the shoulder, here's the edge of the pec. So basically halfway between here is where you're gonna start seeing these muscles come in, right? Midpoint, boom, 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 boom. Okay? Well, hey, we can actually kind of cheat and see how many there are. Looks like there's 1, 2, yeah, there's about 3. There's 1, 2, 3 that are really prominent. You get some other ones down here, but those start to really blend together as you go down to your obliques. So the ones you really want to pay attention to are this 1, 2, 3, and then these muscles that start interlacing. Interlacing. And you might want to pay attention to, notice how the first one that goes over top is the one with the chest muscle. Then the second one underneath is there, right? And then you got another one that goes from the chest and goes over. So you want to make sure you interlock those muscles in the proper way. Because if you do it wrong, it'll look kind of funny. All right, so where were we? Ah, yes. Okay, so chest muscle. We're going on up. Remember, that first one goes over. Then we go under, over, under, over, under. And then we got the latissimus dorsi right there. I'm going to darken this so you can see it a little bit better. Ah! Perfect. All right. And the next thing I want to point out is, again, really pay attention to this right here, guys. That's that second little thing. This is like connective tissue. This is all tendons that are connecting to your ribs. Watch, let's take away this guy's skin again, okay? So look at what exactly is happening here with the Christmas tree. So see how you got ab 1, ab 2, and then this is ab 3? That last little bump right there, these little bumps up here are actually like connective tissue. There's a little bit of muscle there, but it's mostly tendons and stuff, okay? So that's what's kind of creating, it's kind of going in and doing one of these. That's why it's going in and doing one of those things, okay? Very good. In fact, let me put that guy's skin back on. Yeah, you can see basically how it works. So this up here is basically, these are not, I mean, they're technically abs, but you want to make sure that they are much lesser versions of them. Lesser versions of the abs. In fact, I'd probably play them down a little bit more, maybe like that. So yes. And oh, the other thing that I wanted to point out was, along with this Christmas tree technique that we're learning here, is that you want to consider the rib cage, right? This is what those muscles were. You almost want to think about it going up, right? Because this is how your rib cage works. Look at how it goes right up, and then that is what that connective tissue is all happening there for. Okay, it's connecting your ribs and everything to your giant manly pecs. Okay? So don't forget that. But don't over-exaggerate it and make it look weird like the superhero comic book things from Barnes & Noble tell you how to do. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right. So now with that new enlightened knowledge, I do want to soften these up here. I do want to soften these, but still have them looking good. Just have it be a little more subtle. So something a bit more like that. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Cool. Yep, I like it. Alrighty then. So yeah, I think that's probably about it. I think that's going to help us solve the abs puzzle. And I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember this as I go forward. And I hope that you remember it as you go forward into your continued learning. We could go into like the chest and all that stuff, but we've already done plenty of tutorials on that. The last thing that I do want to finish up with is that it always looks really cool when your abs go upwards. You see how there's this trending of like an upward chevron like that? Basically how I used to draw abs was like this. So there was a little bit of truth in that. There was some value in that. But make sure that they are separated and given the Christmas tree technique. All right? And you will live long and prosper. Don't forget the little diamond in there. And you will live long and prosper in the land. All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and finish up today's daily. So thank you guys for joining me on YouTube once again for another lovely tutorial, joint study session. I hope you guys have learned some good things. I know I have learned some good things. So you guys take care of yourselves. I'll see you next time. Until then, see ya.